Well, I almost did it without any hitches, man. I almost got all the right buttons pushed. What's up, Soul Warriors? Welcome here to this Healing Messages for the Week, doing a 10-part series, taking apart my 10-year recovery and healing journey. Tonight, we're on year 3. It starts to get really good and really interesting here. And so I'm super excited to be here and to share with you about this. It's been amazing going through my memories, going back over and being able to feel some of the same things that I felt then. And when I think about year 3, the whole theme was like this. There were so many things that happened. The calling of purpose happened. There was this theme of rebirth, and it was like the lights began to come on. And there's so much that got to happen. And so whether you're in year 3 or you're in year 2, and it doesn't even matter if you're on some type of addiction recovery journey, if you're just on a healing journey, this applies because all of it intertwines in the same. And so welcome and thank you for being here. And thank you for those that will watch this later on. This is the first show from this new setup that I got. This is a very temporary space, very great to be here in nature and to be able to have some light to share all this with you guys. It's always so grounding to be here and relaxing to be here. And so very grateful to be in this environment tonight to share it with you. So look, I got some amazing resources I want to share with you. I think I'm going to start sharing them towards the end, because when I share them in the beginning, everybody who joins us later, which we're live on like 6 platforms at once, so people join us at all different parts of the game, don't get to see these amazing resources. So I'm going to start doing it maybe at the beginning and the end, or switch it up and test it out. But for now, let's do it how I know how to do it. I've got this amazing resource available from our good friend and our soul sister, Pamela Topgen. She's written her amazing memoir, just even a part of it, really, because I think she's going to do more. So I can't wait. I didn't come this far to only come this far. If you're looking for hope and strength and resilience, and almost like what we're doing here, where we're going back over our lives and taking really apart the wisdom, and it's such a journey for the teller and the writer as it is for the reader. So there's so much resonance in this. It's probably part of why I'm telling you all of this here tonight, because it's such an inspiration to me. You can get that on Amazon at amazon.com/Pamela Topgen. You can also pick up her newest book, Behind the Mask, Gloves and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey. I just love the way she's able to compact and tell her story in such inspiring ways. I love her. This community loves her. She's such a huge asset here and just a great energy to have here always. She has this amazing YouTube channel where she has these custom guided meditations and visualizations and different parts and of her story and her books and different things on YouTube. But this one is specifically to help relieve cravings, and I cannot tell you how honestly helpful it would be as a resource in your recovery journey. It is just so helpful to utilize every part of you. Like, you are this entire whole being. And in year 3, I started really understanding and becoming aware of this. Not understanding, but becoming aware. And so we've got to treat every part of us. And so any kind of ways we can make it easier on ourselves, less harsh on our nervous system when we're going through the recovery journey, utilize those things. If it resonates with your heart, utilize it. This is your recovery program. It doesn't have to look like someone else's. It's the healing is the goal. healing and happiness, and just being a whole person again within yourself, and operating in a way that you're proud of. That's the goal. So utilize every tool. And this is a great one, this guided visualization. You can find that at youtube.com/ at Pamela Topchian. One of my favorite resources of the year as well is this great pocket resource, the Tao Te Ching, by Martin John Garcia. He's taken the ancient text, the Tao Te Ching, all 81 verses, and he's added his just years of him utilizing in his life, and how he translates through his wisdom and experience. So it's an amazing little resource. You can get it at martinjohn.com, and just go check him out. Recovery Mentor. He's an amazing human and a brother of mine. And another little brother of mine is Matty Jablonski, who's written this awesome little book, The Poetry of Change. We know him from The Point of Change, My Little Brother from Another Mother. Such an amazing, unique way, and just awesome way to tell his story. I think it's so unique. So proud of him. I always have been and always will be. And so get that. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I got to put his link up there. That's all I did. No, let me find it. Oh, it is up there. What am I thinking? I'm looking at Martin John on the bottom. Anyway, pick that up at amazon.com/poetry of change. And if you've bought it, please leave a review. I still have to leave my review. I'm a terrible friend because I haven't done that yet, because I've enjoyed the book so much. But pick up those resources. Man, I'm super excited to get into this year 3 tonight. If you're in year 3, if you're in year 2, if you're in day 1 and you need a little bit of hope to know that, yes, it does get better, and yes, certain things do get easier, and the light starts to come back on, well, you're in the right place. Do all the things if you feel led, like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff. If you guys are ready to get into this year 3, the Calling of Purpose episode with me, I'm ready to go too. So let's grow. What is up, you amazing soul warriors? I am so excited to finally get to year 3, because year 1 and year 2, they're pretty drab. They come with some amazing realizations, and they come with a lot of wisdom, and they come with a lot of experience. But it seemed like it was just a fight from the beginning. And I knew if I kept fighting like that, just fighting to stay not using, to just stay on this thing that I wanted so bad, and when you're in your early stages, you're fighting your body, you're fighting your mind, you're fighting your everything. And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to go on with that fight so long, but I remember just keeping on going through all of that. And if you hadn't seen those episodes, please go back on our YouTube channel and watch those again to kind of get caught up. But just a quick recap. I've had my awakening process. At the time, I'm basically homeless with a family, needing to be a better example, made strict guidelines for myself in year 1, and I get myself in a program. My wife has a relapse. Life is going crazy. I'm trying to adult for the first time. All this, there's so many things happen, trying to raise a son and shield him from all the craziness that's going on. And I'm just getting really, really tired of carrying all these burdens. And I don't know what's going on, but I just know that something in my soul says I'm done using. I gotta heal from the inside out. I gotta do something different this time, or it's going to be like every other time. I'm going to do it for a while and count days, and then I'm just going to fall down if I'm not changing me from the inside. If I don't change what it is that I'm running from or running towards, or what I'm trying to numb, then I'm never going to truly be free of this. And I can't always live looking over my shoulder. And that was how I got into that recovery journey. And in year 3, I'm going to tell you the circumstances ain't all that great either. By this time, my wife has finally gone to detox and rehab for the last time. She finally got what it was through some pretty awful circumstances of being bitten by bed bugs and things while in this facility, but just so desperate for change that, she went through so much to gain her sobriety. And I think, man, it really does take drastic things sometimes to awaken us to new possibility. But from here, now that the coping place, and there wasn't a big support system and a good program around her, so she wasn't getting as much deeper healing as I was. So doctors began to medicate her. And so this will start this downward spiral for my wife and our family for like the next 7 years as doctors just continue to medicate her. So I was still going through these massive, massive circumstances, but there were some things that began to turn on in year 3. And what it taught me and what I'd learned coming through year 1 and year 2 and still managing to move forward in all of that was that I could do that stuff. And never before in my life did I ever believe that I could make it past the overwhelm stage of life and move into actually getting through it. I would always shut down. I would always numb out. Just the moment it got overwhelming, I just numb out. And so I had no idea until I went through years 1 and 2 that I could even go through all that and still be standing. And in some wild ways, I was pretty proud of myself because I just didn't ever before believe it was possible. And so going into year 3, I'm going in with a sense of confidence now. I mean, not cockiness, but confidence that, okay, I made this decision and I can do this, and I'm moving along. And the light kind of starts coming on for me. I basically had lost all of my friends. It was about year 3 that I had to start breaking away from some of those older friendships that just could not move to the next level and stage of recovery in my life, because not everybody is going where you're going, and it just means that not everyone can go with you. And a lot of times, it's harsh to say the whole crab in the pot thing, because I don't think for a lot of people it's intentional that they try to pull you, down from your success. I think they speak from their own fear, and they speak from their own belief systems about themselves. And so surely it's hard for them to see it for you. And in some strange ways, it almost feels like people are trying to protect you in ways by keeping you small. So in year 3, I was going through that where I was like this lone wolf. I had no one around me anymore. Um, like I said, my wife was being steadily over medicated by these doctors trying to cure this depression that lived with her, which is pain and trauma, that they were putting her completely to sleep. So it was like I was just a lone human in this space. And I have to say, if all of that was going to happen anyway, then without years 1 and 2, I probably couldn't have handled all that. And so I started realizing that I really thought, okay, wait a minute, I really probably can do this. I had never not used in so long. I'd never had that amount of consecutive sobriety. I had never, I had never been in recovery before. I had always done clean and sober. I had not done recovery. I had done clean and sober. And that just didn't work for me. So in year 3, the hope starts coming up. I start feeling like I'm coming out of that caterpillar phase that I'd been in. And really, to really understand all this, for those of you that have heard my story, I'm sorry to repeat, but it's important. This big transformation that I'm even in and talking about and sharing with you all right now began with the death part of it, that began for me back in late December of 2007 and 2008, where it just started with every every bit of my stability, the humans that were most stable for me in my life, I went through just loss and death of the three most important people, aside from my wife and son at the time. Most important people in my life were just gone, and I was just out there and with a 6-month death sentence. And so that's where this whole thing began. And so year 3 kind of begins the rebirth of what began with that death, because it was a death to the whole life that I had known, which in reality became a death to the entire person that I'd known. I had to make a decision whether I was going to live or die. Was I going to let the body shut down? Was I going to just give up and give in? Or was there one spark within me? There was just this one tiny spark that says, no, I think I can do this. And it came down to this thing where I just didn't want to die on my wife. I didn't want to leave her with that kind of grief. So I used that as my spark of hope. And then now I get to sit here today. And so for all that began, God, it's crazy that it's been 17 years ago this year that all of this started. That at year 3, from all of that leading up, because it all leads in together. And I hope to write it out all one day. I really do. I hope to be able to write it all down. To look back on it, there's just been so much packed into this lifetime for me that it just seems unreal. And so in year 3, I know that I'm in the beginning stages of the rebirth that I had been promised. I was looking for a deeper spiritual connection in year 3. I wanted to know God past the confines of what religion at the time, my understanding of religion, would allow me to do. So I had to burst past that in year 3, where I asked these bigger questions of, I want to know God. I want to know this, on a more personal level. I needed this new spiritual. So I guess you would say, not to be cliche, this was the first of my spiritual type of awakening processes. My practice all the way through years 1 and 2 was just a commitment to gratitude every single day. It was the least I could muster. And some days it was the absolute. I was grasping at something, but I just made a commitment to myself that I would do that every single day. And I really did start to understand in this whole during year 3. I started to understand how to become self-aware and understanding how the brain. I even started studying how the brain actually works on a chemical level, and what it's firing when. And I began to start to study the nervous system and how all of that, how hormones and stress hormones and how all of that really worked through the body, because I wanted to make my program not easy but as kind on my system as possible, because we all know this about like physical withdrawal symptoms. They are not kind to our bodies. And I think when we start drudging through and just trying to count days and stay abstinence from stuff without working on the inside, it's almost like we're assaulting our own nervous systems by doing that. I lovingly wanted to no longer be in a state of constant escape. And I had no idea how to love myself through the process, but I knew that I wanted the process to be easier than just this constant white knuckle battle. And so I would study many different things that would give me these hacks, if you will, into my system, into my brain, into my body. How could I make my body feel better so then it nourishes and helps me utilize a better frame of mind. I started putting boundaries on my sleep. I started getting not, I don't want to say the word stingy because it wasn't stingy, but I started being very intentional about where I spent my energy. It was the first time that I had heard about like the energy checkbook. You only have so much you have so much energy, to give or to have in a day. And I started realizing during year 3 that my thoughts had a lot to do with my experience. And within my thoughts were these stories that I would tell myself from my hurt perspective mostly. So it was easy to get offended by things, and it was easy to, and I just started learning because I got tired of suffering. I started learning and utilizing resources that, helped me start to understand that and to begin to change that perspective. And then the whole time I'm starting each day and ending each day with 5 minutes of gratitude, just 5 minutes. And so it was really opening myself and how I experience life and the world in year 3 by going through these practices. And so it, it it's so much there. I can see it now as like there was just this light that came on. And one of the most important things that really came to me through in year 3 was this was a I was asked to give a speech. It was a 3-minute speech. I'd never given a speech in my life. I changed my major in college so many times to try to avoid speech. I was just paralyzed and shut down, but there was for some reason, and I guess it's the confidence that I'd gained in myself up until then. Like I knew that I was committed to this change in year 3, and there was so much that opened up for me. And so, for whatever crazy reason, I said yes to this request for me to give this 3-minute speech in front of the board of directors for a very large center here in our area. And I wrote a damn good speech, and it was really from my heart. And even though I read the whole thing and it was hard for me to really look up, I made conscious efforts and I really had to applaud myself for doing that. But it was in that moment when I really realized that I could convey a message of experience that just might help garner hope for someone else, because that's what people told me afterwards. I got to meet parents of that had grouped together as a support network because their kids, all of their children were involved in active addiction. And, I got to meet so many people in recovery and people in the community. And that was what it was. And I thought, wow, if I utilize all of this stuff that I've learned and gone through, all the times that I've white knuckled and suffered through things, and then later found an easier, calmer way to approach these things, then maybe somebody else could, maybe it could mean something to somebody else too. I can't be the only one. And if I can help in any way by utilizing all of this negative experience in my life, if I can utilize that in some way, shape, or form to help another person change their life, that would be more than I could ever ask for. It would be full circle. And so I discovered in year 3 that that was just an avenue that I was supposed to explore. And the idea came to me for Hope and Recovery Network, which was my original creation. It was the original platform. It still is the backbone to everything. I had this amazing vision for Hope and Recovery Network to honestly be housed at just a production company mecca that just supported artists and creators and entertainment having to do with recovery and healing and all of that stuff. So, still the big vision, but that was the vision then, and I believe that would have been 2016 or 2017. And online recovery had not it was not really blowing up. It was a very, very small community. I happened to accidentally I created a Facebook page, and I wanted to make these videos, but I had no idea. I never could get one, and I accidentally hit the live button one morning messing around about 5:30 in the morning, and I had no idea what it was. That's why I pushed it. And there it was born. I started doing live videos, I think every morning from down at the boat docks where I get on the boat in the mornings, and I would just share the things and lessons that I was going through and the things I had learned, and to try to help motivate and get people's day kicked off in a way that set them up for the greatest possible success. That was just my goal, is how can we help each other be successful today, and how can we help each other not suffer so much today, and how do we know we're not alone, and what about the person who doesn't have access to services? How could they benefit from something like what we do today, and why I sit here today and do this still? Because it brings me the most joy to do all these things that I've been through in my life, in my recovery, in my healing journey, and all the transmute all of the pain, and then be able to give it back out and to possibly help just one human out there know that they're not alone, and know that it gets better, and know that no matter how far gone you believe you are, and the people around you believe you are, that if you've still got breath, you've still got a shot. Like, you are valuable. You are breathing and you are valuable, and you could make a decision and you could change your life today, because it does ultimately come down to a decision. It's the commitment and the program that comes along with you on the journey. And I utilized everything. I utilized a deeper spiritual connection. I utilize, as we've talked about many times, gratitude. I utilize many tools like guided visualizations, and began to meditate. I mean, now listen, I'm not the world's greatest meditator, so I know that's not for everybody. But meditation, I believe, is a very personalized and personal time. It's not what I think that it's not only what we see most. Meditation is just sitting in still silent contemplation, not racing mind, not monkey mind, but that contemplation. A lot of times my gratitude time is also my meditation time, because I can meditate in on that feeling of gratitude and just allow that to fill my body, because we are energetic beings, and how we treat our energy is going to be how we experience our energy. And what's most important to me in my life today is holding on to a sense of stable grounding and peace. Not because I've learned that life is coming anyway. It's coming anyway. However we end up reacting to it, however we define it, however we pull it in close to us, that is the will that everyone talks about, man's will. That is our will. And we get to decide how we experience that. Even in death, we often, there's always a choice. We decide what is the right and wrong choice on how we experience that. Some people are able to celebrate that person's life and and move on in a way that is light and holds them dear, and other people go through so much grief that, like me, it let them their body shuts down. They get sick and they hold disease. That is their will, and both are always true. And in year 3, I began to really come alive to these things. I began to learn about them for the first time, and I will, from to where I sit now, has just been a constant growth journey, with things that are confusing, things that you thought maybe you knew and you were pretty sure about, and you find out, oh, wait a minute, that might not be exactly, you know, the same perspective now. But either way, there has is so much hope in continuing any type of practice and program that is helping you. Create a program that is going to resonate with you, something that's going to excite you, something that you're going to be able to put in front of you on those days that you don't want to even do this thing anymore. You know, when you don't even want to be in recovery today. Like, I don't want to heal from nothing. I don't want to work on nothing anymore. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to be triggered. I don't want to do none of that. You've got to have something bigger than you. Whatever it is versus your inspiration, it's good to have quite a few things. I had my son that I could constantly focus on, which I just wanted to be a better example for him. I did not want to think about him repeating my mistakes or coping with his hurts and traumas in the ways that I did. I didn't want to picture that, so I utilized that. I had my spiritual connection. I had my practices. I had support in my life, in my just at the time, who bought none of my bullshit, but had such a loving and special way of putting my perspective back to me and helping me, rethink or ask better questions or process trauma and healing. What's up, everybody? Sorry, I'm right. Just cut off for those in audio. This is a live broadcast, so I often say, hey, what's up, Pamela? What's up, Brandy? What's up, Michael? Sober Press. Love y'all. Thank y'all for being here. If there's anyone else out there I didn't call out, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for sticking in this long. I know I'm a little long-winded with this, but I don't even know what I was saying right there, which I hope I made a point somewhere in it. But it's just it's a constant state of evolving, and year 3 gets good. So if you're in year 3 and you've been and you've been steady moving forward, year 1 and year 2, and you're doing the best you can, and you're changing your behaviors, and you're starting to change your environments, and you're starting to see that you're stronger than you thought you were, and you're starting to even look at yourself a little bit different and have a little bit of confidence about yourself. If you're doing all that, you have laid out energy that must come back around for you. And so in year 3, you might get to start experiencing some of that. Some of the lights come on, the hope's there. At least was my experience, and I hope it's that experience for you. There's some things that come along with money in year 3. You start to get a little more stable with your money. You start to have a little more stability in your recovery, so you're probably able to work, and maybe you started getting yourself into a place where you're starting to live, that life, the adulting life. There's a lot of good stuff that comes in year 3. So if you're heading there, if you're there, if you've already been there, please share your experience as well. Always feel free to share in this community, because it's a beautiful community of human beings. Everybody here committed to a deeper sense of healing and, being their most authentic selves. And I love that about this community. So I don't know. Y'all think that's good for like year 3? Anybody chiming in? Anybody got anything they want to add? It's just such an exciting time. You think about the whole caterpillar and the butterfly story, and you think about the caterpillar, man. I mean, that's an ugly process, whole like crazy process. And that's kind of what it felt like. Like, okay, it's starting to all be worth it in year 3. And, still processing though. I worked on my anger in year 3, big theme. Didn't manage that until a little bit later, but I started in that by acknowledging it, acknowledging that it wasn't everybody else that was making me mad. It was my reaction. Being able to be real with ourselves is a master key to this entire thing, because you can't work on something you're not willing to acknowledge. And there was a big moment of forgiveness in year 3. It finally, I hear about forgiveness and forgiveness and forgiveness and forgiveness. And one of the resources I was utilizing a lot at that time was, I had a special relationship from my childhood with Joyce Meyer, who is a female TV evangelist type person. But I truly believe she is tapped into what she believes, and what the content she was producing at that time was truly speaking to me, and it was something I could work on and work through. And I think I needed that at that time. And so she had made the comment that I think is so famous now, and I don't even know she was the originator of it, but she had said one day in something I was watching that forgiveness or unforgiveness or something is like you drinking poison. Yes, unforgiveness is like you drinking poison and wishing the other person would die. And for whatever reason, I guess I had been working on this enough leading up to this moment that it just clicked into place with me. And all of a sudden, how the people that I'm holding so much unforgiveness for, especially from my childhood, their lives had gone on, and that I was the only person carrying this, and that in and all of a sudden again it was clear to me that they still had control of me. The incident, the person, whatever the trauma was, still had that person still had control over me. And it was that realization that broke that cycle just wide open. I started forgiving people like crazy. Like I just started going through my heart and the suitcase of my soul, and I just started forgiving, because it was like all of a sudden I had the formula down. I understood why it was so important to my healing. I understood why it was so important to my recovery. I understood why it was so important to my relationships and my relationship to myself. And so it 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 was just an amazing time. And I'm trying to think if there was something else that was like a main theme of that year. I mean, when we take apart the heaviness of unforgiveness and anger, that'll pretty much take up a year. But I really did have to start acknowledging in that time, and I have to say that my gratitude practice, my deeper spiritual connection, the work that I was doing with my therapist, the psychologist, all of those things, the work that I was doing on myself, the giving of that as like a service, being in service. There's something very valuable about being in service in whatever possible way that's available for you, or whatever way that you can find to do that, because it doesn't have to be defined by how important the service is of giving it. It's just about giving of yourself in a moment. It's just about wanting to give back of some of this. I think that's a big ingredient for how we continue to walk in recovery, is finding a way to be of service. And usually if you just ask, if you have no idea of clarity of how you can be of service to humanity in whatever way, just ask. And the way will show up, because there's no scale, like I said, to gauge how important it is. It doesn't matter whether it can be something tiny, it doesn't matter what makes your heart feel good to do, or to say, or to share, and move in that direction. Everybody's looking for purpose. But what I've come to understand about what purpose truly, truly means is purpose is not a thing that we do, it's a thing that we be. It's a who that we be, to be honest. That's what the purpose is. Now, what our mission and our visions can be, and how we can utilize that to serve in the world, that's the whole different thing. That's the doing. But it's very inauthentic when we're trying to do, and we'll find ourselves striving and striving and striving when we're trying to do more and be less. Or we're trying to do because we think it's going to help us be. And I've really just learned through all of this, and couldn't have any of this without going through these early days of recovery, without going through all of this stuff. And still, because again, life's coming. It's how is it most effective for me to react today, that's going to keep me in line with my values of, I want to hold my peace, I want to not carry extra bullshit. I don't want to take on stuff for other people that's not mine to carry and then be mad at them because I picked it up. I don't want to do that. So this theme of unforgiveness continues to come in, and forgiveness continues to be utilized in my life today. Everything you're building right now in your life by what you're going through is building you into that version of you in which that you have visualized. Now, what does your visualization look like? What do you tell yourself every day? Do you tell yourself how bad you are, how much you've screwed up, how unsavable you are? I mean, what are you telling yourself every day? Are you telling yourself, man, I can do this. I just know that I can do this. I'm going to do this. You don't have to be doing affirmations at the level of doing affirmations in the mirror for 30 minutes out of the day. Just watch what you're telling yourself, because that's the trajectory in which your life and your next set of circumstances is going to take off. We set things in motion first here, through here, and when it connects in here, it's almost like it's a done deal. And so keep setting, if you're building up, if you're early on a healing journey, keep setting your good energy out there. Just keep going. Start mending those habits that we come out of active addiction with, the taking things that don't belong to us. That was a big one, a huge one for me. It was such work. It's so weird to think about now how normal that was. But you work on those things. You give yourself grace, you work on those things, and just keep going. Okay, for real this time, I'm going to stop right there. I want to appreciate everybody for sticking in with me and hanging out here. Remember, you can get all those amazing resources. You can get Martin John's Tao Te Ching at martinjohn.com. See, I have so many marks in this you can't really see, but I turn over all these pages. I'm going to have to order me another one pretty soon because I just use it every day. You can get Maddie Jablonski, The Point of Change's new book, The Poetry of Change, right there at amazon.com. Love you, kiddo. And you can get both of Pamela Topgen's amazing books. I didn't come this far, it only come this far. And Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs, right there on Amazon at Pamela Topgen. And you can also utilize her YouTube channel with that guided visualization to help relieve cravings. Man, I love Pamela. I listen to a lot of those recordings at night before I'm going to sleep. It's so soothing. It's a great resource. But I love you guys so much, man. And thank you so much for being on this little journey with me and letting me talk to you about it and hanging out and doing all the things. I appreciate you. I really do. This makes me happy. And I pray that you all have the most blessed and amazing week possible. Join me next week. Oh, and I've got some great guests coming up. Patrick Allen Jones. If you don't know who Patrick Allen Jones is, he's an amazing, great new connection that I've made. He's a great, friend already. I cannot wait to share his wisdom for these, men in this spiritual space. We're healing trauma. I love to see that, and Patrick Allen Jones is got great content, doing great things out in the community, and just helping men overcome their own trauma through movement and so much. I can't wait to bring him to you and introduce you guys to him. So check him out on Instagram at Patrick Allen Jones. Until next Saturday, guys, I love you. Have the most amazing week. And remember, you can get up from your give up, and you can create a life you love. All right. See you next time. Bye.